The sixth island or world of Super Mario World is Chocolate Island, but is it made out of chocolate? Is it the home of Choco Mountain from Mario Kart 64? If it is truly made of chocolate, does global hunger exist? You see, in this Mario Maker 2 episode, I'm asking the real questions. Welcome, disciples of the internet, to my Mario Maker 2 series where I try to recreate the entirety of Super Mario World and Super Mario Maker 2 on a very questionable one-to-one basis. Chocolate Island has 9 levels to cover, each one seemingly more problematic than the last. And if you're here and you haven't seen the other 5 islands like Yoshi's Island and the Forest of Illusion, click on the reference card that will direct you to the first video of this program. And of course, now it's time for me to do YouTuber thing. At the time of writing this script, only 6.2% of you are subscribed, so make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell so I can see number go up and gain dopamine. Chocolate Island 1, one of those simple grassy diagonal pipe type levels, but it does introduce these dragon dino enemies that this world likes to overuse quite a bit. They do have the ability to spit fire, but I believe the most important facet of their abilities is chasing the player down. So Monty Moles it is, especially since their sizes also match as well. The sub area isn't too interesting as it just has the return of the Porky Puffer and some dolphins, but at the very end of this level does have something important as the explosive ability of the diagonal pipes is required to get the player across this gap. So I made a track arc with the winged blue platform for quick one-time horizontal transportation. Before advancing to the next level, I would like to make a quick mention about how some of the diagonal semi-solids will have to be drastically changed from the original to prevent all kinds of soft locks.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth. If you still even remember that name, you have all been called here, into a labyrinth of sounds and smells, misdirection, and misfortune. A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. You don't even realize that you are trapped. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, friend. This ends, for all of us, in communication.
Chocolate Ghost House. I would make the Boo Buddies joke now, but this first room doesn't have any Boo-related enemies to speak of, just some Eries and a dark reflection of that taunting 1-up Lakitu from the Forest of Illusion. So I gave this Lakitu the ability to throw as many lava balls as it possibly can. There are also some moving holes, and to fit the theme, I placed some giant boos on tracks. It's not instant death like the holes, but it is better than nothing. The second room has some flashing lines of Boo Buddies to do the classic DVD logo bounce off the surrounding terrain. And since they follow the same direction as they are spawned in, you can make a line of winged fire bubbles without even having to use tracks. The second type of unique boo is a rock type boo that turns to stone whenever the player stares at them. Since you can stack enemies on top of each other, I put the unkillable flying buzzy beetle on top of the boo's head so the player can easily stand atop the heads of the ghosts to reach the exit of this level. Chocolate Island 2 is one of the most complex levels in the game, so before I go into making it, I'll explain how it works first. Every time you enter a pipe in this level, you are taken to a different room depending on how you played the previous rooms. The first room is always the same, the second changes based on your coin count. 0 to 8 coins for a semi-solid Koopa area, 90 to 20 coins for some Rexes, and 21 plus coins for a long Cape Feather glide section. The third room is based on how much time you have remaining, 300 to 250 seconds for a secret exit and some charging chucks, 249 to 235 seconds for even more dino rhinos, and 234 to 1 seconds for a couple pools of water and 11 mushrooms, which is more than enough, as the most you could possibly have that would even be useful at a time is 2. Final room depends on if you have 0 to 3 dragon coins or 4, the second one giving you access to the final 5th dragon coin. Now for actually making it, I physically cannot do any of that, especially since there isn't enough room in 2 sub areas for 9 different sections. So first off, I decided to cut the Pear Koopa section since it's boring and I personally don't like diagonal semi-solids, and I cut the secret exit area since they're useless anyway in Super Mario Maker 2. And for the different pathways, I made an easy path and a hard path, so you could take the path where you only have to glide over a pit and jump over some water holes, but then you wouldn't be a real gamer. Chocolate Secret is one of those very long levels, and of the 3 sections, one of them is vertical, and even that one barely fits in my small vertical sub-area. The first room of this level has 5 charge and chucks, which exactly matches the max boom boom limit in Mario Maker 2. Which means for the third area, I'll have to use an enemy like a giant hammer brother instead, but I can't even do that, as the level ends too fast before I can do that. So I just placed one right after the goal. It makes it seem like I just scooted the end goal into the middle of the level. Chocolate Island 3 has a bunch of those spinning platforms that have some Koopas that stand on hard blocks that rest in the middle. And that's kind of it. There are a lot of differences, but precisely none that we haven't seen before earlier in the series. Even the secret area where you have to fly under the normal one to get the secret one is reminiscent of the one from Cheese Bridge area. Chocolate Fortress, now back to an actually interesting level. There are some pikes that are very similar to smaller versions of skewers. Since they are 1 block wide, I put some conventionally unkillable munchers onto the tracks, and for the ones that move faster than the others, I gave them wings. The next difference is a small one, but this world has this very strange quirk where instead of simply using lava, it uses this strange brown liquid. Like, what is it supposed to be? Molten chocolate, tar, potassium iodide? If this section wasn't weird enough, there are also some miscellaneous fireballs, so at that usual spot where they spawn, I put some red cannons on tracks to shoot at the player. The next room has some thwimps, and since they mostly move in predictable left to right patterns, it is now the classic put spike balls on some odd looking track arcs time. And the boss fight against Reznor is of course the exact same. Chocolate Island 4 has so many slopes that the entire level is covered with them except for the very end because the end goal needs to be on flat terrain, but literally everywhere else is covered with slight slope inaccuracies. Along with the diagonal slopes and some diagonal platforms, which is probably the easiest part to replicate of this entire level, the vertical area is absolutely ginormous, so only about 75% of it can be made. The brick blocks on this level are already browned out, so you cannot just spin jump through them, so each brown brick block is now a P block, so the player has no choice but to hit the P switch to progress. And the sub area is so many pipes that it actually exceeds the enterable pipe limit, so the final 2 are replaced with doors so the player isn't just soft locked if they hit the bottom. Also, since the slopes don't leave enough room for pipes, all of them are stuffed right here at the very edge of the level. Chocolate Island 5, after more brown brick blocks turned P blocks and another gray P switch turned POW block, there is this colorful row of shells all placed in a row. Why are they there? I don't know why, it looks cool. So for my version, I placed alternating spiny and buzzy shells all on this P block platform. After the checkpoint, there are some more moving pipes, and luckily you can't enter any of them, so the hard block track strategy is completely fine in this scenario. Also, this level just barely fits in one sub area. The only change is that I have to put these 3 boom booms directly behind the end goal. But now that I have finally one free sub area, I can actually add water to the sub area instead of using ice blocks. Wendy's castle now can actually use skewers for the intended purpose, except in Mario Maker 2 they cannot pass through solid objects, so some bits of ceiling will have to be removed. Other than the copious amount of skewers, that's kind of it for this room. The second one has some beta amps that circle around their platforms, and the chains being ever so slightly out of sync annoys me so much that I made the platforms just slightly bigger to accommodate for that. The boss fight against the Wendy is also basically the exact same as Lemmy's from Vanilla Dome, but with differing pipe heights, which makes the castle the easiest to recreate so far in the entire game. That doesn't take away from the fact that Mario straight up erases Wendy from existence, though. So that was all 9 levels of Chocolate Island from Super Mario World, represented in Super Mario Maker 2. Now that the in-depth recap is finished, it is now time for the ranking of every level in terms of how accurate they are to the original game. Number 9, Chocolate Island 2. Number 8, Chocolate Island 4. Number 7, Chocolate Fortress. Number 6, Chocolate Secret. Number 5, Chocolate Island 3. Number 4, Wendy's Castle. Number 3, Chocolate Ghost House. Number 2, Chocolate Island 1. And number 1, Chocolate Island 5. I do sincerely hope you've enjoyed my recreation of Chocolate Island from Super Mario World and Super Mario Maker 2. And if you want to see the next 2 worlds from this game represented in Super Mario Maker 2, or if you just want to see more jelly-soaked sleep paralysis demon fuel, stick around.